CA, and I really enjoy doing these types of education outreach. I strongly believe that education leads to empowerment. And so I'm super stoked to be here and share with you a little bit about business credit. As Marla mentioned, this is going to be the first of a two-part series. So today we'll talk specifically about the topic of business credit and how it kind of plays a role in the world of business finance. And then tomorrow we'll get into specifics about the actual finance and lending programs that are available to business owners. So before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind throwing in the chat a couple of answers to these questions. So first, if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat the time in business that you have. So how many years if you're a brand new startup, or how many years you've been in business. Nice, 11 years and brand new. I love it. We got the whole spectrum. 20 years, 2 years in business. All right, and everything in between. That's awesome. Okay, cool. Oh, Valerie. Hey, Valerie, nice to see you. Awesome. Okay, cool. And then second question is on the topic of business credit. If you wouldn't mind kind of guesstimating on a scale of 1 to 10, what is your level of familiarity with business credit? Like, have you, if you have no idea what business credit is the first time you're hearing it, maybe a 1. If you're already started the business credit building process, somewhere between a 5, maybe even a 10. Okay. Okay, sounds good. And this just helps me kind of steer the conversation potentially. I think this presentation is good for both of you who are, just learning about this today, and for others who have experience in building business credit already. In fact, if there's anything important that those of you who said 8 and 7, that I missed, please feel free to either maybe correct me or throw it out in the chat. I want this to be kind of a collaborative conversation. So the more mana'o, the more wisdom out there around business credit, the better. All right. Well, without further ado, let me share my screen and we'll get into it. Okay, dogs. Business credit and business finance. So my name is Sanoe Burgess, like I mentioned, and I am the business funding advocate and loan officer for Alliance Commercial Finance. Our motto is, we are entrepreneurs funding entrepreneurs. We were established back in 2013 by my dad, actually, who is a lifelong businessman himself, and went through the process of trying to establish a property management business back in 2013. And his eyes were open to this whole world of non-traditional forms of financing, lending, had never heard about business credit before this time as well. And so again, a lifelong businessman was learning about all these types of new topics and realized that there's a need in the community for access to non-traditional forms of finance and education around business credit and how these types of things work for entrepreneurs. Because even if you've been through business school and went through a variety of different business training types of classes and consultations, business credit and business finance is still sometimes a difficult to access topic and information. And so our topic for today is business credit. A fact you might already know, and some of you might deeply relate to, is that the #1 issue of small businesses is getting access to capital to start, grow, and expand your business. So business credit, which we're talking about today, is an increasingly important means to increase your eligibility to receive low-cost financing. And so today, when it comes to business credit, the definition of that term is, the credit score and profile that is associated with your business entity or your employee identification number, sometimes referred to as your EIN or EIN number sometimes. So rather than your personal credit profile and personal social security number, you have a business credit profile and business EIN number. which business, when it comes to business credit, there's a unique way different from personal credit to start, build, and maintain your business credit. And so we'll get into that today. So in order to cover that, first we'll get into the value of business credit. Why is it important for us to know what it is as business owners? Second, how to establish your profile, sometimes what we refer to as compliance. And then third, how to actually start the business credit building process. This won't be all of the information that you'll need to know to go out and be an expert today, but I think we'll cover enough to kind of pique your interest, get the ball rolling, and ensure that you can kind of get the process started to build your business credit the right way. So let's get started with first the value of business credit. So one of the benefits of establishing business credit is that it enhances your business's credibility and trustworthiness. Specifically, if you're a business owner who is currently or plans to build, grow, expand your company through debt financing, it might be a good idea to build and grow your business credit. Not always are people going to grow their business through debt financing. Sometimes people bootstrap, and I 100% respect that. But at a certain point, sometimes it gets to the point where debt financing can be a tool that can help boost your business. And business credit, if you do choose to take that route to do debt financing, business credit can be a means to, again, help you boost your credibility and trustworthiness when it comes to the review process by banks, lenders, right? They're reviewing your profile, your personal credit profile, your current assets, your current debts, and more nowadays, they're also reviewing your business credit profile and whether or not you have one established. So business credit is basically an additional checkbox item that might help you with a couple of things, such as increase the approval amounts, reduce interest rates, and also potentially lengthen payment terms, and also increase the chances that you even are approved, right, that rather than turned down. I would like to make a note at this time that it still, even though business credit is becoming more and more important, it is not yet, and I'm not sure it ever will be, as important as personal credit. It does not replace your personal credit profile. There's some myths out there that, you know, if your personal credit's not so great, you can just build your business credit profile and that'll be fine. It's important to have both a strong personal credit profile as a business owner and a business credit profile. But again, business credit profile is becoming more and more important year by year. A second benefit of establishing your business credit profile is separating your personal and business finances. This helps you reduce your personal risks and liabilities. So you're keeping things separate so that everything is under the EIN and tied to the EIN and your business credit profile rather than tied to your Social Security and potentially bringing down your personal credit score. Right? Keep your personal credit and business credit separate. This also helps you keep your personal credit for personal things, right? You, beyond being a business owner, you are also maybe mothers, maybe wives, maybe college students, whatever it might be. You have other personal needs in addition to your business. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your personal credit available for personal things. This also can help you ensure that you don't damage your personal credit. Businesses tend to cost sometimes 3 times more than you expect when you set off to do it. And so a lot of times what I see is business owners coming to me and we're talking about, you know, how things are going with their business. And typically, especially if they're in that 3 to 4 year range, they have overutilized their personal credit cards and maxed them out and are trying to find more credit because they've already maxed out these other credit cards and still they got to buy toilet paper and diapers for their kids. Leave your personal credit for personal things and don't overutilize your personal credit cards, because if you do that, you're bringing down your FICO score. You're bringing down your personal credit score. One thing to note about, since I'm kind of touching upon personal credit, is that personal credit is reviewed in order to establish business credit amounts. So what that means is the higher your personal credit score, which is just one small data point. A lot of people are focused on the score itself, but there's a lot more that goes into it, such as your utilization, amount of hard pulls or inquiries, like credit checks, basically. These types of things also play a role. And so you want to keep your personal credit utilization low. The more you have in available personal credit, so like a 10,000 here, 5,000 here, 15,000 here, the better. We typically, this is actually part of another presentation, but I do want to make sure that you guys know this, that we typically recommend that business owners have conservatively $50,000 in available personal credit cards. This does not mean you're utilizing $50,000 in available personal credit, but you have a lower utilization because maybe you're only using 5,000 of that for personal things. So your utilization ratio is much lower than if you had only 10,000 available and you're using 5,000. That's a 50% utilization ratio, which is not good. We have a saying 30% is good, 20% is better, 10% is best. So my tip when it comes to personal credit, before I go too deep into the personal credit side of things, is keep the available amount of personal credit up, keep that utilization down. Okay, back to business credit and vendor credit. So another benefit of utilizing business credit is that you can utilize vendor credit accounts and vendor credit rather than your personal cash or personal credit cards. So, and this is beneficial for two reasons. One, you're separating your personal from business credit. Two, you're also building business credit, which we'll get into specifically. A couple notes on business credit cards. All are personally guaranteed. Personal guarantees does not mean that they report to your personal credit, however. Some business credit cards, business credit cards, banks who label their business credit cards as just business credit, sometimes still report to your personal credit, which we don't want, right? We want to keep them separate. So it's very important for you folks to double check with anytime you take out, like from Home Depot, whatever capital bank that you get a business credit card with, you ask them, is this reporting to my personal credit or not? And you ideally want to have it not reporting to your personal credit. Again, the goal is to separate personal from business credit. That's not inherently a bad thing. Actually, I don't want to misspeak. It's not just because it does report to your personal credit doesn't mean, oh, I don't want to do this. But it's important to know who's reporting to my personal credit, who's reporting to my business credit. All right, and now we'll discuss how to establish your business credit profile, also known as your compliance items. So first, we want to start with just licensing and entities. First, many of you who have already been in business for 10, 20 years, this is all repeat to you, but those of you who are just getting started, you want to set up typically one entity, either a S Corp, C Corp, maybe you're going into a partnership. We recommend in the business finance world, all of the even lawyers that I've spoke with, we typically recommend that an LLC is oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes the best option. It may help provide legal and tax benefits. It also can help with the reduction of risk and liability. However, I do have a tax agent that sometimes suggests that their business switch to an S Corp. So again, it's a case-by-case basis, but for the majority, it is an LLC is going to be the best option. You can establish business credit even if you're a sole proprietorship. However, you're more likely to get more credit, more business credit, and be seen as more credible if you get an LLC or an S Corp or a C Corp. So after you've established your entity, you also want to establish your EIN or employee identification number with the IRS. Super easy. Go to irs.gov. Quick and easy way to establish your EIN. Only way to establish your EIN with the IRS. Then you want to make sure that you get your, this is not really tied to business finance, but another thing you want to make sure you do is make sure that you get your field specific licenses taken care of as well. So I know some truck drivers, they get like the DBAs or other type of truck licenses. If you're a beauty bar, you get, you want to get your esthetician license, cosmetologist, barber's license, operating license, building permits, lots of licenses. So you want to make sure you got all of that squared away. Oftentimes a business consultant such as the YWCA programs will be able to help ensure that you've gotten all of these squared away from LLC, EIN, and licensing. They're an amazing program. They can definitely help guide you to check off those boxes. Then you want to set up your business contact information. One of those is your business address. Speaking from a business finance perspective, it is beneficial to have some type of address tied to a physical location, not your home address. One way that you can do that, and our company, Alliance Commercial Finance, does, is we have an executive suite office. These are physical offices that can be rented by the hour, day, week, month. And you can also take advantage of what we call virtual offices, where you can use the address and they collect your email. They collect all of your mail and then they forward it to your home address if you prefer. You don't want to have a home address because a lot of the business finance verification is done through AI, and they're literally Google mapping that address. And if it comes up on a residential household, it's not going to look as credible. It's going to be a bit of a red flag. You also want to establish a business phone number separate from your personal cell phone. I recommend Ring Central. It's actually tied, my business phone number is tied to my cell phone, but I know if it's a business phone call versus a personal phone call because I have a separate phone number, and we take advantage of the app called Ring Central. You don't want to have personal home numbers or phone numbers, cell phone numbers. Again, credibility purposes. If there's two entities, an individual and a business tied to a personal cell phone number, it's going to be a little bit of a area of question. And when it comes to business finance, you don't want anyone questioning nothing. You want to have a business phone number tied to your business. You also want to make sure you establish an email address for the business. Gmail is best for the format of your business address. What is the software used for the business line? I use Ring Central. Thanks, Andriana. Ring Central is the one I recommend. I think there might be other options. You can kind of shop around and see what, has the best deals, cheapest prices, whatever. But for the most part, they're all going to give you the same services. I have a note here that also says, we don't recommend using Google business phone numbers. I'm not exactly sure why, but sometimes there's like a little bit of a mix up there. So don't utilize Google to give you your business phone number. Use a separate, such as Ring Central. All right. And then, so for email address, you want to have a professional email address. Mine is my first name at my business name, alliancecommercialfinance.com. You don't want it to be your name at gmail.com because that doesn't look credible or legitimate. You don't want to have honeygirl808 at yahoo.com back from 2007. You want to have professional sounding email, typically recommended as your first name at your businessname.com. And Google Gmail allows you to, if you upgrade to like a professional suite or something, you can change it from being at gmail.com to at Alliance Commercial Finance or at whatever.com. Pretty quick and easy. Believe it or not, you also want to have some social media accounts established. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok's all the rage. Love TikTok. The more presence you have online, the better. AI is assessing your presence online. The more they can see you and see that you're legitimate, the more likely you'll qualify, potentially. You also want to make sure you establish a website. Make sure you have someone help you, or if you have the experience in building a website, build a legitimate, nice looking, easily accessible website. Question about address. What if your studio is at home, but separate from your living space? If I'm understanding your question correctly, it sounds like maybe you live downstairs, but your office is upstairs type of a thing, but it's in the same building and same address. If so, yeah, you wanna have different addresses. You can do, if it's too expensive to have one of those executive suites or virtual addresses, you can do PO Box. It's not as recommended, but it is a potentially cheaper option. You got to do what's best for you. Yeah, if the budget's not allowing for a virtual address or executive suite, PO Box for the meantime. Get that cash flow up, switch to an executive suite when the time's right. Okay, perfect. And last but not least, when it comes to the compliance items, you want to make sure that your business name, address, phone number, EIN, all of those things are consistent at all levels. Secretary of State, with the IRS, with Dun & Bradstreet, which is a business credit reporting agency, with Experian, who's another business credit reporting agency, even on your Facebook, even on your Instagram. When you Google your business, what is the phone number and address and website? All of that should be consistent on all platforms. Again, if there's any inconsistency, red flag. And we are not about the red flags. All right, any questions about the business credit compliance side of things? So far, some solid questions.
Sanoe, we had one question. Can I build business credit when my personal credit is low?
That's a great question. Yes, you can. You can start to build your business credit, even if your personal credit is not in the best place. However, as I mentioned before, your personal credit is still king. Your personal credit is going to be the most often referred to and pretty much determinant thing that is referred to when it comes to qualification. Because both take up energy, time, money, I would focus on, if your personal credit is low, work on building and growing your personal credit first. And then once that's taken care of, then grow and build your business credit. There are some programs out there, we do offer one, that helps you do both simultaneously. Build and grow your personal credit, start and establish business credit, and you have a team of consultants helping you do so. But even in our program, if your personal credit's not 100% taken care of just yet, that's going to be the first couple of steps. So whether you choose to have someone help you or you're choosing to do it on your own, personal credit should be your primary focus if there's if you feel that you need to get it to a better place. I have a question in the chat. A construction business, you qualify for HubZone. Should we use the suite for business address? We still qualify for HubZone. Is HubZone one of those, like down in Kaka'ako, they have like those locations where everybody works together kind of a thing? Is anyone else familiar? If that's what it is, like a co-working space, I think that's another option. Like if you're renting out that workspace, it's similar to an executive suite. I believe HubZone, if I'm not mistaken, is something similar to an executive suite.
I think a HubZone is an area of the state that is considered economically disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Yeah, Federal Disadvantaged Business Program.
But if you use, oh, so if you use the suite for a business address, sorry. Okay, I see the question now. If you use this an executive suite for your business address, will you still qualify for HubZone? That is a Marla question.
That's a good question, and I'm not sure. So we'll look that up and send that to you after the webinar.
Sorry, yeah, I heard hub and I instantly thought of like those co-working spaces, like the hub down in Kaka'ako. Not the same thing. Okay, got it. And then what do I have to say about using a post office box? So you can use a PO box. It's not as, so there's different like levels when it comes to addresses. Your personal address is going to be at the bottom of the total poll, least ideal. Next step is going to be the PO box, a little bit more ideal, but still not as ideal. And then there's going to be those physical executive suites or even like physical addresses that you have tied to a commercial space. So different, it's on different tiers.
And thank you, Fred. You mentioned it will depend on the hub zone, on the location of both your home and the suite. They both fall in the hub zone.
Got it. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. And then let's get into the credit building process. So first things first, you want to establish your business credit IDs. So you have an ID, or you should establish first an ID with the top business credit reporting agency in the world, which is the first established agency named Dun & Bradstreet. They are the most commonly referred to business credit reporting agency. And what you get with them, once you establish what we call a DUNS number, you can start growing your PAYDEX score. So your DUNS number is kind of like your ID number, and then your PAYDEX score is your business credit score through Dun & Bradstreet. Similar to your personal credit, your credit score is not going to be exact same at each location, right? Sometimes your Experian and your Equifax are going to look a little bit different. Same thing with your business credit. Different vendors report to different credit reporting agencies. So your DUNS number is your Dun & Bradstreet is going to have your PAYDEX score, which might look a little bit different from your IntelliScore, which is from Experian. Experian is most often like the second commonly referred to business credit reporting agency. And so these are the two that you want to be on top of when you're growing your business credit, your PAYDEX score with Dun & Bradstreet and your IntelliScore with Experian. Again, you want to ensure before you start building business credit so that you're not building business credit with potentially 3 different locations. You want to ensure that all your information, address, phone number, social media, everything is consistent across the Dun & Bradstreet and Experian IRS. The benefit of establishing and working through business credit with these agencies is that when the banks and lenders are looking through your application, they will refer to your business credit score via these bureaus, and it could improve your fundability, which is again, likelihood of being approved, approval amounts, terms, and interest rates. And so there's a step-by-step process of building up your business credit once you've established those IDs with Experian and Dun & Bradstreet. You'll work your way up through what we call tiers to get to tier 4. The higher you get up through the different tiers, the more amount of vendor credit you have available to you, the more amount of vendors you're qualified to work for. And sometimes some people feel like the higher quality vendors as well. So when you're first starting your business credit building process, you will be working with tier 1 vendors. This is a list of companies that approve vendor credit, even for new businesses or businesses that don't have business credit established. And so when I say vendors, I mean places like Uline, Quill, Granger at the tier 1 level. And so you'll have specific dollar amounts tied to basically your relationship with Uline. Let's say Uline allots you, you can spend $3,000, you have a $3,000 credit with us. So you buy with them through tied to your EIN, rather than using your personal credit card to buy business supplies. You're using your vendor credit under the EIN to buy your business supplies. As you build what we call payment experiences, right? Each time you pay off that credit, that amount that you've purchased, you grow your way up through the tiers. So the next tier, once you have a certain amount of payment experiences, you'll get to work with vendors that approve vendor credit for businesses with a limited amount of business credit. You're a step above tier 1. You have a few payment experiences under your belt. So you can qualify to work with places like Apple, Lowe's, some car rental locations, and even some phone service providers like Verizon and even AT&T. Building business credit and these approvals are, yes, tied to specific vendors. So this is the only way you can build business credit, is if you are purchasing items with these vendors tied to your EIN and you are paying them off. So you have to be building payment experiences. Tier 3, vendors are going to include vendors that approve vendor credit for businesses with fairly established business credit. So now you have maybe 15, 20 payment experiences under your belt. Now you qualify for things such as gas cards, which is not, you don't need to pay for with your personal credit. It'll be tied to your EIN, West Marine, even Napa. And then tier 4, vendors that approve highly established businesses with established business credit, such as Sam's Club, Staples, and Walmart. And so some things to check for as you're going through this building process. You want to make sure that you're aware of each of these vendors, each of these businesses' term links. Am I purchasing this box of trash bags and printer ink and printer paper and rubber bands? And do I owe them the $60 after 30 days, or do I owe them it after 60 days? Make sure you're aware of when that term is up and make sure you pay it on time. You don't want to pay it too soon for some reason. You want to let it maybe like a week or two, but make sure that you pay it off before that net 30 or net 60. You also want to be aware of the reporting amounts. This is the dollar amount associated with how much you need to purchase from these vendors in order for them to report that purchase to Dun & Bradstreet or Experian. It's typically around $60. Vendors such as Walmart, Uline Quill, Apple, Verizon, they actually need to pay the credit reporting agencies when they're doing their reporting. And so basically it's like your purchase needs to be worth it. You need to purchase a certain amount in order for them to report. And you also should try to be aware of who they report to. Some vendors report to different reporting agencies. This is not exact, but for example, it could be that Lowe's reports only to Dun & Bradstreet and not to Experian. So if your goal is to build your Experian credit score, then maybe you don't want to work with Lowe's. Maybe you'll go to Home Depot, who does report to Experian. So you got to know who reports to what. Sometimes I'll have people ask me, I don't know why it's not growing. Typically, I'll ask them, how much did you purchase with each of these locations? And are you sure that, you're working with vendors that report to Experian, Dun & Bradstreet? And then you want to make sure that it's done correctly. It's kind of a science. It's kind of an art, the business credit building process. It can take time. It can take a lot of time. And it can be done a lot faster if someone helps you. It can be very expensive and sometimes even lead to damaged credit if it's done incorrectly. So hopefully we've learned enough to spark your interest and learn a little bit more to make sure that you are doing it correctly. What about a secured credit card using your EIN? So you can use unsecured and unsecured business credit cards. Thanks for this. That's a great question. So you can use both secured and unsecured business credit cards to build your business credit score as well. These are lines of credit, credit cards with certain banks and lenders that'll allow you to either, when it comes to secured, purchasing certain things, or unsecured, basically liquid working capital that you can purchase from whoever, whenever, however. The question in the chat is, do I have any specific ones I suggest as in credit cards? When it comes to personal credit cards and business credit, it's gonna be a case-by-case basis. So depending on, you wanna do your own research and determine, what are the benefits? What does this bank look like? What type of programs do they offer? And kind of determine, same way you do with your personal credit, you wanna learn about the business credit side of things as well and determine what's gonna be the right fit for you. Again, if you work with a program that helps you build business credit, you will have a consultant helping you answer those questions specifically for your case. And does business line of credit build business credit as well? Yes, as long as you're making sure. So I kind of alluded to this before. Sometimes there are business credit cards labeled like it's for your business. Like I've seen Home Depot once, they had like a sign up for a business credit card, but it's really only reporting to your personal credit, but it's like advertised as for your business. Again, you always want to make sure that if you're signing up for a business credit card or a line of credit, that it's reporting to the EIN and not to your SSN. Business lines of credit, yes, you can use those business lines of credit to build your business credit as long as it's tied to the EIN. Yeah. Business lines of credit and unsecured like lines of credit or credit cards are, in my opinion, and a lot of other business financiers' opinion, the most ideal way to fund your business, especially for small businesses, for a multitude of reasons. Typically, you can get much better rates, the interest rates on business lines of credit and business credit cards. Again, you're separating your personal from business credit. You're leaving your personal credit available. And rather than taking out of like a fat $20,000 loan, which you're paying interest on immediately, when it comes to these types of things, vendor credit, business lines of credit tied to your business, you're only paying for what it is you're using, right? It's same as your personal credit. You can pay the minimal monthly payment and you're only accruing the interest. You're only paying for what it is you're using. You're not paying interest on a $20,000 loan, even though you only are really using $5,000 short-term. Trade credit is another term for vendor credit, trade or vendor lines of credit. Local parts store versus Napa. It's typically done when it comes to the business credit building process. You can either use an unsecured business line of credit to go to Napa, but when it comes specifically to this trade line or vendor credit with Napa, I believe it's typically done like online, and that way that you can like sign up for the link your EIN in there. But it also can vary from vendor to vendor. Again, it's an art form, it's a science. A consultant would be an actual business credit consultant would be a better person to answer that question. I'm familiar with this stuff, this topic, because I feel that it's kind of my responsibility to let my clients know about this. But again, I'm not a business credit consultant. I just know all of this stuff because I see it and I've studied it and I've researched it on my own so that I can share this information. But when it comes to specifically making decisions about how to build and grow your business credit, you want to work with a expert in that field, which I'm not. All right. Any other questions about the business credit building process? I will do my best to answer anything that I know. Otherwise, I can always get your contact information and ask my business credit consultants that I know and get back to you. All right, well then let's wrap things up. So today we discussed, we got to do a little bit more familiar with the value of business credit, how to establish your business credit profile, and how to start the business credit building process. And so getting access to financing and building your business credit doesn't need to be super stressful. You want to prepare for those exciting moments of growth by building your business credit, strengthening your personal credit profile in advance, so that when it comes to the time that you're ready to potentially do a loan or look for unsecured business lines of credit, you're prepared for that moment. If there's any questions about business credit, even about personal credit, I'm pretty familiar with both topics. So happy to answer any of those questions as well. And then if you're interested in growing your business credit, becoming more eligible for low cost financing or getting access to unsecured lines of credit or any other form of business finance, feel free to stay online, or I'll put my contact information in the chat as well, and we can set up a one-on-one discussion. Be happy to answer any questions or see what you might be eligible for business financing wise. Any questions?
Okay, thanks so much, Sanoe. Like she mentioned, she's happy to put her contact information, but I'll be sending out an email to all of you with a link to this webinar and Sanoe's contact information. Ours as well. We do have a complement of financial counselors that can meet one-on-one with you to discuss your personal situation in your business and questions you may have in preparing your business credit and or setting that up for your individual needs. So I will send that as well in email, and you'll have resources to reach out to. That's what we do here as a technical business center. It's all free. And if there's particular information Sanoe can provide, she's willing to do that as well. So
I got a great question in the chat real quick. I want to make sure we get to Valerie. Great question. Dun & Bradstreet, you should not be paying them anything. Do not pay Dun & Bradstreet a single thing. Very often you'll sign up and get your DUNS number, and then they're going to start soliciting you for all kinds of this and that's, which you don't need. And I just within the past month talked to a gentleman who let me know, like, I spent maybe $2,000 to $3,000 with Dun & Bradstreet. They promised him, that they'd help him build his business credit. They did not. So don't pay Dun & Bradstreet a dime. Just get your DUNS number and get out.
Oh, so you shouldn't, excuse me, so you shouldn't check what they're saying about you though?
You can, you can check with them intermittently. Yeah. And if you have to pay to do that checking, then go for it if you really want to know what's on there. Sometimes there's other business credit, like hubs that show you your Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, all in one location. A little bit more expensive, but also available.
But they all cost something.
Typically, yeah. Kind of like how you get one free personal credit check every year. Thanks, Experian. Yeah, same thing. It kind of costs a little something.
But so is it a good idea to look at that though, to pay and get that initial report and then go through all the trouble of filling out your profile and giving them all your data?
It's really up to you. You can, if you want to get an idea, especially if you've been in business for, what was it, like 11, 20 years, it might be worth it to kind of get a temperature check on where you are at with Dun
Okay.
and Bradstreet.
Depending on length
Yeah.
of time in business. Okay.
Yeah, I would say if you're a brand new business, I wouldn't go doing that just yet. But yeah, if you've kind of been, especially if you have already gone through some steps of building business credit potentially, but you're still not quite sure where you're at, it would be a good idea to maybe get a pulse on that.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you, Sanoe. Any last questions? One here, as far as DB street number, it transitioned to EUI, entity unique number.
Oh, cool. Okay, so instead of Dunn's number, it's EUI now. Interesting. That's nice and confusing. Great. EINs and EUIs and okay, good to know.
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so if we have no other questions, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Join us tomorrow, and we'll go on to capital. And Sanoe can further detail out her lending organization and what they offer there. So join us again tomorrow, same time, same Zoom link, and we'll be sending information and follow-up.
Awesome. Mahalo nui. See you guys tomorrow.
We hope.
We hope.